Welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Hello, everyone. Great to be back.
So today we're diving into something that might sound a bit wild at first, maybe even backward.
Definitely a head scratcher.
Yeah, this idea that if a certain, prominent leader were to step down, Taiwan might actually find itself in more danger.
Right. It really goes against the grain. I mean, usually you think the current leader is the main threat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But some people are out there saying maybe Taiwan should, thank him.
Thank him. It sounds absurd, doesn't it?
It does, like thanking the bully for reminding you to, be strong. So what's really going on here? Let's try and unpack this whole paradox.
Okay, so what's really fascinating, I think, is how this leader's very aggressive, very overt approach. Well, while it's obviously threatening, it seems to have unintentionally kicked off this sort of reverse effect.
A reverse effect.
Yeah, one that in some pretty unexpected ways has actually maybe benefited Taiwan.
So because he's been so out there, so visible with it, that's actually helps Taiwan. Can you give us some examples of that?
Absolutely. Let's think about some of the big moves from his administration that really seem to backfire quite significantly.
Okay.
First, you've got the Hong Kong crackdown, that forceful push with the national security law. It was meant to clamp down, right? Regain control quickly.
Yeah, suppress dissent.
But what it really did was show the whole world what one country, two systems actually looked like on the ground.
Which was?
Well, more like one country, one system, really. It just shredded global trust, caused huge international alarm.
And then you had countries stepping up.
Exactly. The UK, US, Australia, Canada, they started offering asylum ways out for Hong Kongers. Hong Kong became this symbol, but definitely not the symbol Beijing wanted.
Wow, okay. That's a massive own goal, strategically speaking. Painted a very clear and, frankly, alarming picture for the rest of the world.
It really did. And then you had the zero COVID policy.
Oh, yeah, that felt like it went on forever.
Right. The decision to keep those really extreme lockdowns going until late 2022, way after most other countries had opened up, it caused just massive economic problems.
Huge youth unemployment figures came out of that, too, didn't they?
Massive. And it even led to those, rare, widespread protests across China. The White Paper Revolution.
Right, people holding up blank paper. Powerful stuff.
Incredibly powerful. And it seriously damaged China's international standing, while also kind of highlighting some internal weaknesses.
Yeah, it felt like a very self-inflicted wound, hurting their own economy, their own people, in a way nobody outside could have done.
That's a good way to put it. And then third, you have the whole aggressive diplomatic style, the wolf warrior diplomacy, as people call it.
Right, very confrontational.
Very. And combine that with the huge military drills, like those ones around Taiwan in 2023, 2024, or remember after Speaker Pelosi visited in 2022?
Unprecedented scale, those drills.
Totally. And they were clearly meant to intimidate, to scare Taiwan and its supporters.
Yeah.
But they had pretty much the opposite effect. They pushed democratic countries, in Europe, Japan, even places that tried to stay neutral, pushed them to be much more watchful, more openly supportive of Taiwan, actually.
It's almost like a cartoon supervillain who's so loud and stomps around so much that he just wakes everyone up.
Exactly. The clumsy giant effect. He inadvertently got everyone else to kind of get their act together.
So his bluster just united the opposition more.
Precisely. And this increased awareness, it led to some real tangible results. Inside Taiwan itself, all this external pressure, it really helped unify society.
You can see that in the polls.
Oh, yeah. Polling data, like from the Central Research Academy in 2024, shows this really strong consensus. Over 80%, 80.6% of Taiwanese believe Taiwan and China are not the same country.
Oh, that's a solid number.
It is. And support for actual formal independence. That's hitting around 50, maybe 54% now. Plus, how favorably people view China has just tanked. Historical lows.
So the constant pressure, the bullying, it just made people dig in their heels even more. Solidified that distinct Taiwanese identity.
It absolutely seems to have done that. And importantly, it pushed Taiwan to boost its own defenses.
Right, they upped their spending.
Significantly. The defense budget went from about 2% of GDP up to 2.5%. That's around NT $600 billion in 2024. That's a direct response to these perceived threats.
And on the world stage.
Well, the whole Russia-Ukraine situation really threw the importance of resisting authoritarianism into sharp relief, didn't it?
Definitely. A wake-up call for many.
And that led to a much greater willingness among democratic nations to back Taiwan. You see the U.S., regardless of who's president really, keeping a close eye on China, strengthening support for Taiwan's security, selling more military gear.
And others too.
Yeah, the U.K. also pledged more defense spending. It signals this sort of broader global sense of alarm.
Okay. So the argument is this really overt, noisy pressure has these strange silver linings. It's like a blaring fire alarm that keeps everyone awake and vigilant.
That's a good way to think about it.
But if this specific leader steps down, what's the actual problem then? Wouldn't someone less aggressive just be better?
Yeah.
Less alarming?
Well, this is the really crucial question, isn't it? What happens if the next leader isn't so obviously, let's say, clumsy or overtly aggressive?
Okay.
That's where the real test might begin. For Taiwan and for the countries supporting it, a smarter dictator, someone using a more subtle strategy, that could be way more insidious.
So someone who, plays nice on the surface, smiles more, creepier, like a wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing.
It really does. I mean, imagine a leader who rolls out these, conciliatory policies, uses diplomacy, soft power as the main tools.
How would that look?
Well, they might make genuinely friendly gestures, offer lots of cultural exchanges, deep economic partnerships. They could subtly build up reliance through trade deals, market access.
The economic entanglement strategy.
Exactly. It's like you're invited to this really great party. Everyone's super welcoming, bringing you drinks. But then you slowly realize the doors have been locked behind you. You can't actually leave.
That's a chilling thought. Being slowly buttered up until you're basically trapped.
And they could work more covertly, too. Maybe co-opting political figures inside Taiwan, influencing media outlets, key industries.
The hidden influence campaigns.
Right. And they could totally rebrand the message. Package the whole unification idea under much nicer sounding terms like peaceful development or a community of shared destiny. Sounds pretty harmless, doesn't it?
Much harder to argue against than military threats.
Way harder. And we're already seeing elements of this, with sophisticated information warfare, using social media, spreading misinformation to sow division, trying to sway public opinion in Taiwan.
So less saber-rattling, more mind games.
Sort of. And they could still maintain a strong military posture, but maybe more subtly. Enough to create psychological pressure, keep people on edge, but without triggering major international condemnation like the big drills do.
Wow. Okay, that is much harder to fight because it's not a clear, visible enemy anymore. It's like the Trojan horse.
Right.
You willingly invite it in because it looks like a gift.
And then, surprise, your autonomy is gone.
Exactly.
So if a new leader came in, paused the military exercises, talk more softly, the world might just breathe a huge sigh of relief.
You can easily imagine that. Everyone thinks, oh, finally things are calming down, getting back to normal. And maybe even Taiwanese society itself lets its guard down a bit.
Creates a false sense of security.
A really dangerous one. It's that classic wolf cry fatigue, You hear the alarm bells so often, you eventually just tune them out. Or stop believing the threat is real. And that's exactly when the real wolf, the smarter wolf maybe, can just walk right in. That's a genuinely scary thought.
It is. And we have to remember, right, that while the person in charge might change, the underlying goal of the Chinese Communist Party, that unification goal regarding Taiwan, that doesn't fundamentally change.
The strategic objective remains.
History shows us that pretty clearly. Leadership changes often bring policy tweaks, sure. Think about Hu Jintao's era was relatively more moderate compared to now.
Right.
But the core objective, that stayed constant.
Okay, you mentioned earlier that really provocative idea that the current leader is, quote, the dumbest enemy, which sounds incredibly harsh. Is he really just strategically inept on the world stage?
Yeah.
Or is there maybe different calculation we're missing? Something about internal power?
It really is a paradox, isn't it? Because he's definitely not brainless when it comes to internal power politics. Not at all.
Okay.
I mean, he's a master at consolidating power. Look at him securing a third term, keeping such tight control over the military, purging rivals so effectively. That shows some serious strategic skill within the party system.
Right. He's clearly very good at that game.
Absolutely. But then you look at his strategic calls on the international stage, and they just consistently seem to produce these reverse effects we talked about. His methods often seem to actively undermine his own stated foreign policy goals.
So it's like he's a grandmaster at internal Chinese chess, but maybe playing checkers, or just a different game entirely internationally. That kind of makes a twisted sort of sense.
That's a really good way to capture it. The logic failures, from an outside view, have been pretty glaring. Take zero COVID again.
Okay.
The intention, surely, was to show off the superiority of China's system, its control, its ability to manage a crisis better than the West, right?
Yeah, that seemed to be the narrative.
But the reality of how extreme and long it went on, it led straight to the white paper protests, major economic damage, huge youth unemployment. It ended up severely hurting China's image, both globally and, you could argue, internally, too. The means just completely blew up the intended message of strength.
Yeah, so much for showing off. It became more a demonstration of how brittle things could be.
Exactly. Or the Hong Kong national security law, again, designed for quick control, stability.
Right.
But the outcome, it basically proved to the world the Sino-British Joint Declaration was dead. It triggered that huge international backlash, the asylum offers. It basically forced the definition of one country, two systems into something much closer to one country, one system, and got widespread condemnation for it.
Another own goal, then.
Seems like it. And what about those massive military drills around Taiwan? Weren't they supposed to scare Taiwan straight into, being more compliant?
That was definitely the message they were sending.
Yeah.
Intimidation 101.
Right. But again, the irony, those huge drills, especially after Pelosi's visit, they actually pushed more young Taiwanese towards supporting independence. Anti-China sentiment hit rock bottom.
And it made other countries step up.
Yeah. It spurred the U.S. and Japan to seriously strengthen military cooperation with Taiwan. It pretty much killed off that old idea of strategic ambiguity, where the U.S. wouldn't say exactly what it would do. His actions forced more clarity, and it was in Taiwan's favor. You try to act tough, and all you do is make your opponents tougher and more united against you.
It really looks that way. And one more, the Common Prosperity Economic Policy.
Ah, yes. The crackdown on tech giants. Real estate.
Exactly. The stated aim was maybe to reshape the socialist image, tackle inequality, put the state back in charge more firmly.
But the methods.
Well, crushing tech companies, overhauling real estate so abruptly, it led to hundreds of billions wiped off the market value of firms like Alibaba, Tencent. Foreign investment fled, middle-class confidence took a massive hit. So the goal of a more prosperous, equitable society was kind of torpedoed by methods that just stifled the economy.
It really is like he's trying to lose weight by just eating cake constantly. The methods seem completely counterproductive to the stated goals time and time again, resulting in all these unintended negative consequences. That really captures the core paradox, I think. His leadership style often feels unpredictable, resistant to dialogue, maybe because the underlying logic seems a bit disconnected from global realities, or maybe even from achieving his own long-term aims effectively.
So it's not just simple stupidity.
No, I wouldn't say that. Maybe more like a strategic misdirection, perhaps driven by a really extreme ideology or deep-seated anxiety about maintaining power. Whatever the cause, the result seems to be that even China's allies look a bit disappointed sometimes, while its rivals just get more determined and unified.
So the really big takeaway here seems to be, well, while it feels natural to wish for a problematic leader to just go away, we need to think a step beyond that. That the most obvious, loudest threat might actually be the one that paradoxically keeps everyone alert and on their toes. It fosters that vigilance.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, it really underlines the need for Taiwan and the whole international community to stay incredibly vigilant, not just reacting to the loud bangs and shouts.
But maybe being even more wary of a quieter, more strategically clever approach.
Exactly. That subtle strategy could, in the long run, be far more effective at achieving those underlying goals, like unification. So the critical question for everyone watching becomes, how do you maintain that vigilance? How do you keep that unity when the threat becomes less obvious, more insidious?
What does preparing for that potential smarter dictator scenario really look like? That's something to really chew on.
Definitely.
Fascinating stuff. A huge thank you, as always, for tuning in to Sip&Talk. If you enjoyed this slightly mind-bending conversation, please do hit that subscribe button. We love diving into these surprising topics.
And hey, before you disappear, our good friend Mickey, he just dropped all his new Korean travel food vlogs over on his YouTube channel, Mickytolife.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, you should check them out. He's hilarious, finds the absolute best street food, the best snacks. It's great stuff.
You really won't regret it. Go give Mickey some love. We'll catch you next time right here on Sip&Talk.